What's your favorite thing about Ellenville?
What I really do like is this sense of a community that has been through the ringer, slowly but surely emerging and coming out, growing some new wings, and stepping forward.
You know, yes, people come through and they'll say, oh, a lot of closed doors and that kind of thing, but it's still chugged along.
Ellenville Rising, because that's really what it is doing right now.
We're gonna hitchhike up to the Catskills. We know the highway, Route 17. We're gonna hitchhike up to the mountains.
We were wandering Jews once. Now we like to have a place to stay.
No, the Jews were not welcome here in the beginning. I think in the early part of the 20th century, there was a lot of pushback. The sort of Gentile-owned resorts and hotels didn't want the Jews, and there's some apocryphal story about some wealthy sort of businessman asked to leave a hotel, and that spurred him to create a Jewish, sort of build a Jewish-owned hotel. The reason the Borscht Belt even existed is because of anti-Semitism. It's because Jews couldn't stay at other hotels and resorts, so they had to create their own vacation land.
And this area, the Shangan Bridge, all around here, became a place of respite from New York City and Philadelphia for people who wanted to get away to somewhere cooler. I mean, you have to imagine what it was like living in New York City in the late 19th century when you had, innumerable smokestacks. It was an industrial city. The summer months from June till into September can be intense, especially if there's no air conditioning.
There are about 250 hotels and bungalow colonies in Ellenville at its peak. But really the best known hotel was the Nevele.
I will tell you that, and again, it's only based on my Ellenville knowledge, that when the season came, and I'll talk about the season, which started right around Memorial Day and ended after Labor Day, there would be not hundreds, but thousands of people that flocked to the area. You sensed at that time, you knew when the season started as the traffic started to get heavier and heavier on Route 209, and you saw just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in the community.
Everybody got their first job at the Nevele.
I had school teachers who would work there as waiters and make more money being a waiter than they did as a teacher. And every kid, it was a wonderful thing for the kids of our area. You could babysit, you could work on the ski hill, you could work in the ice rink, on the golf course. It was endless, the amount of jobs that were here.
One of my first jobs was mucking the stalls at the Nevele, and I did it basically so that I could ride for free, and then ended up working there, taking guests out on trail rides. It really wasn't a job, it's something that I love to do.
Capitalism, one of its functions is destruction. It's just the way that money operates. It tends to be kind of an inevitable consequence of gentrification, beautification, social success.
There's a beautiful ice rink. Have you guys been there? You talked about this, right? Amazing ice rink. Wish it could be saved. But yeah, it's going to all be torn down.
I saw the demise really start locally in the Ellenville area in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I think it was just a result of a change in the way people vacationed.
The children of these, many of them were immigrants or the children of immigrants. Their children were so assimilated and so Americanized, as it were, that they kind of wanted to get away from what we call the shtetl, that sort of this sense of where you're just only with your people. They wanted to break out of this kind of what they might have described as sort of this old world culture. And the other thing was cheap airfare. You don't underestimate the ability to fly to Europe for the summer. It was affordable suddenly, so people could do that.
All of these huge companies came in, and you could fly to Puerto Rico for $400, and it would be all meals included. And that's what people came up to the hotels for. The Borscht Belt was to get meals included, and they could ice skate, they could horseback ride, all these different things, and it was all included. And the meals, the food, if you talk to anybody who went to the hotels, it was famous for the food. They'd come out with platters of food.
And I think once there was this sort of, there was a sort of domino effect, and I guess people just started thinking of the Catskills or the Borscht Belt as something a little fusty and musty and old.
So the Nevele had changed hands several times from its original owners. The family that owned the Nevele were the Slutsky family. They sold the hotel to, I believe, Liberty Travel, who owned it for a short period of time and sold it. I believe that those guys really contributed to the demise of the hotel, because it appeared that when they did own it, they did not reinvest much money back into it, and it fell into disrepair. So it was sort of like watching the slow decay.
Ellenville did have other industries like knife factories, TV antenna company, which was the largest in the country, Channel Master, and prison. Is probably one of the biggest employers these days. But most of those big employers, except for the prison, are gone.
Imperial Schrade Knife employed a lot of people in fairly good jobs for a long time, and then they went out of business in, I think, 2001, 2 or 3, and that was a real blow. So when they went, the Nevele went, it really gutted the place.
I think the hotel closings and the Buffalo Colony type of thing, that was probably more of a sentimental hit. But the factories really, that was a financial hit, because they really employed a lot of people.
But now, the site where the Schrade Knife operation, which formerly was Channel Master, that's been cleared. It's just a concrete slab, but it's been bought by an outfit called Cresco Labs, which is vying to be America's leading cannabis company.
Ellenville is positioned to be, as I like to joke, the cannabis capital of New York State.
And where is it now?
Rebounding. I guess that's the word that I would like to use. Hashtag Ellenville Rising, because that's really what it is doing right now. There's a resurgence in the community. Of course, during the last 2 years of the pandemic, there was a huge push up into the community out of the metropolitan area as a result of the proximity of Ellenville being just about 90 miles north of New York City.
COVID really kind of jumpstart what was already happening in a much bigger way. There's really been a wave of people moving up here in the last 3 years. Obviously, they were sort of fleeing the sort of pestilence of the pandemic. But once they got there, like, oh wow, there's another way to live. We don't have to live in this kind of rat race, cramped, expensive apartments that is in New York City. So people kind of came up here, saw what they liked, and decided to stay.
You know, there's a wave of people who gravitated towards Ellenville and planted their flag here, their roots here, from all over the world. And the resurgence of the Nevele Hotel, which has been purchased or is about to be purchased by a group who intends to take the 400 acres that the hotel's on and just recreate probably a combination of resort / housing. So that's exciting too. So I'm feeling that vibe again. I'm feeling the same vibe that I felt back in the late 80s.
I hope that everything that's being proposed now is followed through. You know, the Nevele gets developed. I hope that all the storefronts here are full and bustling with varied types of products.
So my hope for Ellenville is that, like, 10 years from now, it'll just be just a great place to come for an afternoon and just sort of make it a real vibrant kind of rural town.